Out of the Hollow, Book 1 of 3 in the Hollow series, by J. Sen. Chapter 4, Valaria. It was twilight in the evening, as deep darkness fell about outside the Hollow. Dante looked around the adobe. The area was lit by the fire that burned in the center pit. A woman staggered in through the door of his house like an unstoppable windstorm. She was a beautiful woman, but lacked discretion, like a gorgeous gold ring in a pig's snout. The woman approached, seductively dressed in a black, readily form-fitting tunic robe. Her face was hid under her hood. She sat down in a large chair, shooting coy glances towards Master Dante. He was not captivated, but curious. She leaned, showing a little of her cleavage and clavicle. She was seductive and persuasive. Her black hair was long and clung to her waist, out from her cowl. What little of her face shone revealed fine features. She had a fair complexion, a perfect full set of lips, smooth like oil, and an evil curve to her mouth. She seemed lazy as she reclined her head against the seat. Her eyes shone as deep, dead, cold, and greenish gray. She stared into the fire. Dante looked at the woman. He felt her aura was not right, like a dangerous trap. He started to feel a longing for her he'd never felt before, but fought the urge. Looking at her was like falling into a narrow well. The woman looked up at him and smiled.
It is good to see you, Dante.
Valaria has her name? Dante asked her, hearing the name in a whisper through his friendship with his master.
Valaria is my name. I'm the guide.
She paused, her voice a very smooth and sultry rasp. She spoke with a hiss like a snake. Do not be deceived. She is bad company. The winds spoke to Dante. Both his master and the winds were unheard by Valaria.
Don't feel ashamed.
She lowered her hood and gazed into Dante's eyes. Her smile grew deeper.
It wouldn't be prideful for you to want me.
She stood and sauntered over to Dante. He was sitting as she lowered herself to his knee and stared up at him.
I would offer you gifts.
Dante wondered about her aura. A temptress? She wasn't man. She was elven, a witch of the red, and queen of the north.
I've already sent you a friend, a companion, a pretty puppy friend to guide his way.
She traced her fingers up his knee. Hold thy tongue, foul devil. Now then, temptress, listen to me. Pay attention to what I say. My heart has not turned to your ways. I will not stray unto your path. You may have snared many victims. Your slain are a mighty throng, but Val is with Eddipus, and your charms will not work. He stood, kicking the witch aside. A bright light formed in his hands. He aimed it at Valaria. Her eyes widened. She looked at the light and hissed. Her bosom heaved against the front clasps and lace of her clothes. The light was so divine that Dante could see blood trickle down her forehead. An even brighter light gleamed over Dante's head, far more powerful than he. You are made of bone cancer, and thus I cast you from mine heart. Valaria screamed. The adobe lit up with a bright brilliance. Her black, flowery lace gloves started to stretch and tear as her fingernails grew. Her eyes started to glow yellow and her mouth opened wide. Her teeth became pointed. Her hair went stringy and silver. Valeria's skin became a very light, sheer line. Foolish woman, who would tear down my house? Get thee behind me, enchantress, for you seem honeyed sweet, but you are bitter like poison, and as dangerous as a double-edged sword. Dante signed with his hand of light, a symbol of protection. Valeria's skin flaked. She spat at Dante. Her tongue grew long from her mouth. Pieces of her clothes ripped apart, now exposed, she began to dissolve into flame. Her hair fell out and dissipated. Her eyes fell loose from her sockets and turned to water on the ground. Wisdom will save me, for I has cast thee from my sight. Valaria whisked away into the air like so much sand blown in a storm, and she vanished. The temptress was gone for now, but she wasn't dead. Dante's light dimmed along with his master as he stared at the fire, sighed, and fell back onto the seat. He felt a strange sensation left behind. He felt a longing for Valaria. She had delivered that sting, but he wouldn't allow it to hinder him. He looked into the flame and could see Val and Eddipus fighting a mountain cholera. The flame was dying, but Dante knew of a better light, a healing light. He saw they had bested the monster Valaria sent to snare him. Eddipus's training was grueling. He had to exercise with Val and to block arrows with his sword. He already knew how to fight with the blade. Now he had to learn to dodge projectiles and block without brutal force. Arrows grazed his arms a few times, causing a slight chuckle from Val. Eddipus was getting tired. His grip was loosening on Talavia. Val and Oedipus stood in the red forest. Light pierced through the treetops onto a clear meadow where they trained. Val pulled on his bowstring, eyeing Oedipus. He let go and allowed an arrow to hurl through the air towards him. Focus, Val said, letting another go. Bring up your sword. Val was careful with his words. He was also always calm, and when he spoke it wasn't much at all. He trained often at a king's hall, but where? Oedipus didn't know. The sun now dipped into the horizon. Rest, Val said. The road of trials will begin. By training, of course. Did Clan Master Dante put you up to this? Yes, and yes. What of tomorrow, Val? I need to find the path again and travel to the north. I need to find the cure. Now! Shut it, Val replied, sitting cross-legged, closing his eyes. I don't understand how rest is going to help me be a hero and save my people. It's a waste of my... Val interrupted. Sleep. Yes, Eddipus said. He was thinking about Hilda. He laid his bedroll out. I know. Sleep. Tomorrow we begin again. It was night in the north. Valaria was walking upon her rooftop. She spotted an opening, a small silver portal nearby. She thought she would be able to best the old master she left behind in the meager hollow. She'd imagined tempting him, She wanted to curse the old fool and use him as her familiar to stalk the warrior Eddipus. But now Eddipus held her interest. Valaria asked herself who the warrior could be. Of course, he was a warrior elf. He was one of Hilltop's mighty men. She'd imagined she would make Eddipus her close lover. She had to see him and judge for herself first. She could rule the Red Forest with Eddipus by her side. She dreamed of destroying the symbol, the tree of peace. Valaria wanted them to kill each other, to weed the stragglers out. The rest would serve her. Instead, Dante was victorious and traded her like an old beaten sphinx. Past the Red Forest, into the north she lived. The dead trees around her lair were tall and skeletal. Their branches twisted with the same sickness of the hollow's timber. At each end of the spire stretched accents of sharpened merlins. The spire reached up and curved like a black spider dying on its back, and the tower's lead roofing was a nearby hatch, open to a spiral metal staircase.
You'll be mine, Eddipus,
Valaria thought as she moved her outstretched arms towards the small silver portal. She went into a trance and manipulated the world around it. She shifted and changed the air beyond something unrecognizable and dark. She was widening the portal, making it a seer's visual as she could see Eddipus. She watched him as he slept and became enamored by his muscular build and long, dark blonde hair. She wanted to wrap her arms around him and feel his heartbeat as she lay upon his chest. She moved closer to the portal, entranced. Valaria noticed a gleam near Eddipus's hand. Valaria screeched. Despite his love's heart dangling at Eddipus's chest, Valaria summoned a greedy rage. Waving her arms in anger, she closed the portal. The longing was so strong that her blood began to boil and her skin tightened. Her mouth was dry. She let herself envision what it would feel like to caress his body. She felt his rippling pectorals beneath her fingers. She cried in exasperation and thought about killing his true love. Who, she thought, was Eddipus's love? She pondered a little, wondering if it could be someone who lived in the southern mountains, who could have given him her haired video. Valaria tried to push past her erotic cravings for Eddipus. She fought to think straight. She was feverish and distressed. Valaria closed her eyes and swept through the large sea of crimson shapes in her mind. She separated her soul, visualized it moving into a village hidden in a fog of invisibility. Valeria's soul peered up at a small window. Only a glint of light came from the hut before her. She focused on it and listened. A voice from the spirit realm spoke, saying,
Eddipus's lover is in there.
Her soul, like a ghost, peered closer through the window. She thrust her spirit into the home and saw two women sitting at a small hearth and conversing. Her youth and beauty only angered Valaria more. This had to be Eddipus's love. She floated near the hearth's fire, blending in with her surroundings. What would you like to do tomorrow? One asked the other.
We could visit the bazaar.
The younger woman responded.
Well, Lisa, it's a plan.
We'll wake up bright and early with Elven and walk the new bazaar.
Lisa.
Valaria gasped as she brought her spirit back. She jumped to her feet and ran to the hatch.
Lisa, you are dead, darling.
She cackled as she ran down the staircase.
I'm going to find you and kill you.
Sister Lisa jumped at the loud voice. The sound shook her from her thoughts lost on a basket of colored linens. Her Sister Elder and Priestess Hilda had been walking about the new bazaar.
Lisa!
Hilda yelled, waving her arms in excitement.
What is it?
Lisa asked.
It's adorable.
Hilda responded, smiling and holding up a ribbed, corseted burgundy gown.
Beautiful.
She looked at it with a smile.
I'll buy it for you.
Hilda was close by. She eyed the elegant, noble-cut cotton gown and bodice. How thoughtful, Hilda said, almost distant.
It's a beautiful color.
Lisa responded.
I couldn't. I insist.
Anethe, let her buy it for you, my young child.
Okay, Sister Hilda. And now hang, Hilda.
It looks very lovely. Hilda spoke, slurring.
Are you okay, Sister Hilda? What's wrong?
Lisa asked. I'm okay. Not feeling well. Hilda flashed a look of concern.
Your aura, Sister Hilda. It's wrong.
No, mistress, I am fine. Only sick.
You doubt my gifts.
Hilda responded. Hilda shocked Sister Lisa. She'd never seen Hilda angry. No, dear, I don't doubt them. Sister Lisa looked into Hilda's eyes.
Something is different about you, sister.
You know it's me. You know it's me, Lisa.
You are not my sister.
What could you mean? Priestess Hilda spoke.
She's not my sister.
You're right. She's not. She placed the gown down on the vendor's booth and approached Hilda. Stepping closer to the woman, she saw her aura as a dark form. She saw a mimic of Hilda, an unclean soul. She grabbed her cheeks and pulled her face in close, eyes to eyes. The priestess saw that the spirit lived among the air. She had no form to take of her own, but could shift into others. Priestess Hilda called for a few elven guards to bind the elder impostor with shackles and chains. Once they clasped her hands and feet, she wrenched them apart and broke the harnesses. Hilda clutched the woman's face tighter, subduing her.
What will you do with me, Priestess of the High Rose? Let me be, Priestess. I mean no harm.
What is your name, sinister soul? Hilda responded with,
I am Lilian. I am Nyxith. I am everywhere. I am the eyes and ears of the Red Forest.
Priestess Hilda reached into her breast pocket and pulled out a small silver coin. She placed it on Elder's forehead. By the authority invested in me as High Priestess. The sky ripped open, revealing a beautiful light that pierced into fake Elder's body. Priestess Hilda held her firm as she watched the aura of the familiar fade. Be gone, forbidden soul! Hilda shrieked as she watched the shape of Elder dissipate into nothing.
Sister Hilda's gone. Where is my friend?
Lisa asked as she ran to Hilda and hugged her. I'm not too sure. I hear her voice close by. She paused, her eyes scanning the crowd at bazaar. Oh, there she is. She pointed to an older lady, talking to a fruit seller. They ran to hug her, but Hilda wouldn't forget the name.
Nyxith.